Hello again, SA here. Before we get started with this video, I have to tell you something. Do you find that internet porn and OnlyFans isn't what's cracked up to be after all? Do you feel that the whole world has gone crazy and you just want it to go away and leave you alone, and you have no way of making it happen? Well, guess what? I got a deal for you. Hello there, SA here. And when I'm not making a fool of myself saying what I really think on computer, I'm also a published author, and I got a deal for you. Glitch, a precarious duo, and Glitch, the future is unwritten. And right now, they're both on sale for 99 cents. That's right, no bullshit. And the sale is good through Black Friday. That way, if you're too bloated with turkey, it's okay. You can wait an extra day to blow your money. Now, I'll give you the quick elevator pitch. That way I won't bore you with the details. Sandra is a 15-year-old fashion model with a lot of problems. And Ike, he's a Gulf War veteran who is the last man standing after a deadly jewel heist. But the two of them, through a quirky set of circumstances, end up on a journey across the Southwest while John Law is pursuing both of them. Now, I'm not some one-hit wonder. I got other books coming down the pike. So, if something mysterious doesn't fall out of the sky on my head, you'll be seeing those books too. Now let's get back to the video. Alright, now I got that business out of the way. Let's get started with the video. Not too long ago, a disciple of Charlie Manson, Houghton, I remember her name? She got released from prison. Why? I don't know. I guess someone decided she served enough time. And yet she's probably the last living remnant of Charlie Manson and his family. Now, of course, people who are old as I am remember what happened during the Tate LaBianca murders. And some of us also remember Charlie Manson's motivation as well. You know, he wanted to get revenge on some record producer who didn't want to produce his music. But then he took it one step further, and he referred to it as being the first step in what he called Helter Skelter. Supposedly it'd be a massive ethnic war between everybody in this country. Problem is, didn't succeed. He ended up going to prison instead. And yet, in his twisted pretzel logic, he somehow thought if Helter Skelter was successful, that he and his family would hide out in the deserts of the Southwest until it was all over. And then, upon the ashes of the old, the survivors will build a new society. What kind of society? Don't rightly know. Well, Charlie Manson is dead. Unfortunately, people who probably didn't even know he existed are basically still carrying on his work. Now, some of you probably heard about a series of knife attacks that occurred in Europe. But what probably you don't know is that they all have a pattern. Indeed, back in October, there was an incident that happened in some town called Arius, where a character, an ethnic Muslim, actually he was Chechen, but Chechens are Muslim, he went into a school, screamed Al Akbar, and proceeded to attack the people with a knife. He ended up killing one of the school teachers and injured a few other people in the process. Now, of course, the guy was eventually stopped, and the French police, their anti-terrorism squad, is opening investigation. Because, how can I say this? The people in France, how can I say this? This has begun to become a pattern there. And before you could say Joe Blow, it happened again this month. And this one was a little bit more substantial than the first attack. The first attack was just one guy. The second attack happened in a small French town called, and believe me, I can't speak French for nothing, Cipro, I think it was. And what happened was that people in this town, small town, not too many people there, they were having a dance party at the local meeting hall. And if I remember correctly, yeah, a few dozen guys who didn't live in that town. No, they came from the outside. They showed up with knives and proclaimed that they were here to kill white people. And before you could say Joe Blow, they started to go to work on these villagers. And strangely enough, despite their best efforts, only one person was killed. But 17 people were all, made look like pincushions, all stabbed and everything. And at the time I was making this video, so far only one of these guys was tracked down and arrested so far. What can you say about that? Now, to their credit, the French police are still investigating. So I guess they're going to track down these knuckleheads eventually. And how has people in France reacted? Well, so far they basically, how can I say that? They acted so far like good citizens. They are not acting crazy. They're not running around and burning down the town. They're not even so much as writing a nasty letter to the editor, which is kind of strange. So then you say, so what about these knife attacks? People get stabbed in the street all the time on this world. Yeah, well, this goes back to Charlie Manson. Because what Charlie Manson did back in the 60s was a provocation. He did what he did hoping to get a violent reaction from the larger community. Of course, it didn't happen, but it wasn't for lack of trying. Because if you remember the case, he actually attacked he attacked at two different houses on two different nights. The first house he attacked at, the house where Sharon Tate and her friends were staying and killed all of them. It's a shame too. The woman, that Tate woman, she was pretty. Well, she's gone now. And then a few days later, went to the LaBiancas and killed them. But in the end, it didn't work. The people didn't go crazy in this country and burn that hole down. And then it happened again, but this time it happened in Ireland. Another stabbing attack. And this time, let's just say the Irish were not as level-headed as the people in France. Nope. Now, that goofy character, Paul Joseph Watson, yeah, well, he gave me a head up on this story. And according to his information, some guy who was a North African immigrant who had been living in Ireland for 20 years, officially, he was a full citizen, assimilating everything. He went to a local school, and the kids were standing outside the school, and he proceeded to attack them. And according to the police report, nobody was killed, but a 5-year-old kid was stabbed pretty good, and some adults were injured as well. But this is the part you're going to like. 2 witnesses saw what was happening and stopped it. And these witnesses let's just say they weren't your typical Irish bros. No, one of them was a Brazilian dude who was a delivery man, and the other guy, wait for it, you're gonna love this part, he was a Frenchie. Yeah, the guy, he was I think they said that he was just passing through town. He was supposedly a chef, or trained to be a chef. And they just happened to be at the right place at that time, and they saw what was happening, and they stopped this clown. Now, this is the part where things go sideways. Even though nobody got killed, and the knucklehead got caught, the hooligan crowd and the various other knuckleheads in Dublin, well, they went to work. And before you could say George Floyd riots, they went throughout the town trashing everything, burning police cars, smashing up businesses, just acting a fool. Of course, eventually the Irish police were able to put these guys down. And therefore, when you look what happened in Ireland compared to look what happened in France, you could say, well, there is a pattern here. You have these people, Muslim types, who go on staging these knife attacks. Now, don't want to sound like a conspiratory person, so I won't. But yet you can't ignore the basic facts. I mean, if it walks like a duck, and it quacks like a duck, and it's got feathers like a duck, and when you cook it properly, it tastes like Peking duck, then I guess it must be a duck. And that's something that you really can't ignore. So then you say, well, is there a method to this madness? And like I said, you could presume that it's part of some master plan, some scheme. Or it could be a standalone complex. where you have a bunch of individuals who don't know each other, never met each other, didn't even call each other on the phone, or even send an email to each other, all getting a similar idea at the same time and all acting out on it. And therefore, you can only presume that all three of these clowns who were going around stabbing people were trying to instigate a provocation to get some wider violent reaction out of the general population. And they succeed in this, and they succeeded in Dublin, but not in France. So you could say that the Frenchies, you know, they probably got more going on between their ears than steak tata and escargot. And of course, the Frenchies, they've been known to have their own riots. But in these particular cases, they held their nuts and didn't do anything. And I say good. But unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. We've had provocations in the past that resulted in outrageous violence. Indeed, here in my hometown, we had some couple of instances that you could say were provocation. Like, for example, back in the 1870s, there was a provocation that was caused when a story floated around the city where a local policeman was killed. And the presumption was that he was killed by a local Chinese gang. And before you could say Joe Blow, the local whites and Hispanics, yeah, Hispanics took part in this. They went down to Chinatown and grabbed the first Chinese they could get their hands on and lynched them all. Just like that. Killed about damn near 20 of them. In fact, it's on record as being the largest mass lynching that ever occurred in the United States. Yeah, just like that. Now, did they actually kill any of the people who actually were involved in shooting at that cop? Probably not. Do you think the mob cared? Probably not. But there you go. And then they also had some other really bad news stuff in Tulsa. Yeah. I think everyone knows about the Tulsa riots in 1920. So I suppose I don't really need to bring that up. However, in South Africa, they had multiple instances of provocation that resulted in ridiculous violence. And wait for it, it's not what you think. Nope. On two separate occasions. Once in 1949, again 1985, the Zulu crowd went crazy on the local Hindus. Why? Don't rightly know. But both instances referred to as a pogrom. And they both occurred in the city of, I think, Durban in South Africa. And the first incident, the damn Zulus killed about damn near 150 Hindus. But the second time around, let's just say this, the Hindus obviously got wise to the groove and they didn't stick around. When they saw that the damn Zulus were coming up the road, they packed up and ran. And yet that didn't deter the Zulus. They still trashed the Hindu crowd's neighborhood. And there you go. Now, some of you right now are thinking maybe these incidents that occurred in France and in Ireland had to do with damn mess down there in Gaza. You can presume that. You might even think that. But at this moment, there's no information to say one way or the other. But one thing you can't deny is that these three incidents were clearly provocations. But only one of them worked. Now, of course, if you watch the regular TV news, the regular alphabet networks, as well as New York Times and BBC, they basically ignored the actual knife attack. They're focusing on the damn riot that happened afterwards. Why? Because it fits the narrative. And what's the narrative? That all white people are bad and all brown people are good. Yeah, right. I guess they had lived in my neighborhood, they would know different. And indeed, most of the alphabet networks won't even tell you the ethnicity of the guy who did it. But like I said, lucky for all of us, Paul Joseph Watson was on the case and he found out right away. So what next? I don't know. But I have a weird feeling that this is not over. That there are going to be more provocations down the road. The only question is regular population going to act like the people in France and be chill and just round up the knuckleheads who did it? Or are they going to act like the people in Dublin and act a fool and try to burn the house down? I don't know. But wherever comes next, hopefully wherever it happens at, whether it be in LA, Timbuktu, or points in between, hopefully the local population will act like the people in France and not act like the people in Ireland. Because imagine if old Charlie Manson had gotten his way and a massive Holocaust had taken place, not just in California, but across the entire United States over their provocation. The world you're living in right now would be a much different place, because in all likelihood, you won't be in it, according to Charlie Manson. Yep. Just because some knucklehead puts a landmine in the road doesn't mean you have to step on it. You can walk around it. You dig? Well, that's all I had to say on that mess. And that's my opinion.